They didn't kill the Cathars because they were dangerous. They killed them because they were free. I need you to stop what you are doing, because what I am about to tell you is the most important thing that was ever erased from your history books. Not hidden in a footnote, not buried in a library, erased, with fire, with swords, with the complete annihilation of an entire people who had discovered something so dangerous to the system of control that the most powerful institution on earth launched a military campaign, not against a foreign enemy, not against another religion, but against its own people, in its own territory, because they had found the exit, and they were using it. Their name was the Cathars, medieval Gnostics living in southern France, in the Languedoc region, in the 12th and 13th centuries. And they were not a fringe cult. They were an entire civilization, hundreds of thousands of people, living in towns and villages across a vast region, with their own theology, their own initiatic tradition, their own understanding of reality that was so accurate, so precisely aligned with the deepest truth about this constructed world, that the Church of Rome declared them the greatest threat to Christianity in history. Not the Muslims, not the pagans, the Cathars, fellow Christians, living in France. Why? Because the Cathars taught what you are learning right now. They taught that this physical world was not created by the true God. It was created by a lesser being, a false creator, what the Gnostics called the demiurge. They taught that the material world was a prison, a constructed cage designed to trap the divine spark, the fragment of true source that lives inside every human being, in an endless cycle of death and reincarnation, life after life, trapped in matter, forgetting what they actually were, harvested over and over by a system they could not see. Sound familiar? Because it should. This is exactly what the Archons do. The Cathars saw it clearly 800 years ago, and they found a way out. The Cathars called their sacred ceremony the consolamentum, a laying on of hands, passed from initiate to initiate, in an unbroken chain going back to the earliest Gnostic Christians. And what the consolamentum did was sever the soul's connection to the reincarnation cycle permanently. The initiated Cathar, called a perfecti, a perfected one, was believed to have broken free from the material trap entirely. Upon death, their soul would not return to another body, would not be recycled back into the Kanoma, would rise directly back to the true source, the Pleroma. This was not metaphor. This was their master key, and it worked through direct transmission. Person to person, consciousness to consciousness. No institution required, no priest required, no church required. Just two human beings, one who had been freed, passing that freedom to another. That was what the Church of Rome could not allow. Here is the part they absolutely needed you to never know. The Cathars were not dangerous because they were violent. They were pacifists. They did not go to war. They did not threaten anyone. They simply lived as sovereign beings outside the system, without needing the Church's sacraments, without needing the Church's priests, without fearing the Church's hell, because they understood what hell actually was. Not a place you go after death, but a cycle you keep returning to, in body after body, until you remember what you are, and find the exit. The Church's entire power over every king, every peasant, every soul in Europe rested on one thing: fear of death, fear of what comes after, fear of hell, fear of damnation. And the Cathars had completely removed that fear from hundreds of thousands of people in the heart of Christian Europe. A population without fear of death cannot be controlled, cannot be taxed into compliance, cannot be sent to war on command, cannot be harvested. They were not a religious threat, they were a political catastrophe. And so in 1209, Pope Innocent III launched the Albigensian Crusade. The crusade lasted 40 years, 40 years of systematic massacre. The city of Béziers, one of the largest Cathar centers, was taken in a single day. 20,000 people, men, women, children, killed. When the soldiers asked the papal legate, "How do we tell the Cathars from the Catholics?" his answer became one of the most chilling sentences in all of human history. "Kill them all. God will know his own." 20,000 people in one day, because they understood that this world was a prison and they had found a way to leave it. By 1244, the last Cathar stronghold, Montsegur, a fortress built on a mountain in the Pyrenees, had fallen. 220 perfecti, the fully initiated Cathars, walked calmly down the mountain. They were given a choice: renounce your beliefs or burn. Every single one of them chose the fire. Every single one. Think about what that means. 220 human beings walking into flames calmly, without screaming, without begging, without recanting, because they genuinely did not fear death, not as performance, not as martyrdom, because they actually knew that death was not the end, and that what waited on the other side of these flames was not the cycle, but the source. They had been initiated. They had received the consolamentum. They were free, and no fire could change that. Now here is what this means for you. Right now. Today. The Cathars were not destroyed because they were wrong. They were destroyed because they were right. Because a people who understand that this world is a constructed prison, that the soul returns again and again, that the reincarnation cycle is the harvesting mechanism, and that there is a genuine path to liberation, cannot be controlled, cannot be taxed, cannot be sent to war, cannot be harvested. The Albigensian Crusade was not a religious war. It was a cleanup operation, the most successful suppression of esoteric truth in the history of the Western world. And it almost worked. Almost. Because here you are, 800 years later, learning exactly what they tried to burn. The transmission was never completely severed. The chain was never completely broken. It went underground. It survived, in fragments, in manuscripts, in the traditions that preserved it carefully, passing it from initiated to initiated, generation to generation, waiting for the moment when enough people were ready to receive it. That burning it would be impossible. That moment is now. You are the reason the Cathars walked into the fire calmly. They knew this knowledge would survive them. They knew someone, across 800 years, would receive what they died to protect. That someone is you. More hidden knowledge in the secret path in bio.